Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Booyer Kim from KDI School. Today, I'd like to share just one story, very interesting story about social impact bond project in South Korea for this 15 minutes. You may know the concept social impact bond. This is a contract with the government or public sector whereby it pays for better social outcome in certain area. So social impact bond is not a bond per se, since repayment and return on investment are contingent upon the achievement of desired social outcomes. So SIBs derive their name from the fact that their investors are typically those who are interested in not just for financial return on their investment, but also in its social impact. So just let me briefly explain the structure of the social impact bond implementation. First, usually the government, local government, have some contract with intermediary. So I just call project management company, PMC. And then this intermediary, PMC, searching for the private investor. So they raise the fundraising from private sector. And then once they secure the private investment, then this intermediary, PMC, have a contract with PIC, Project Implementation Company, and providing the program to the beneficiary. And 5, then after providing the social program, the independent evaluation unit evaluate the impact of the program. And 6, the independent evaluation unit submitted the evaluation report to government as well as the intermediary PMC. And government executes the budget based on the evaluation. Only if the evaluation meet the criteria and the target, then government executed the budget. And finally, the intermediary PMC delivered the investment return to investor. That's the basic structure of social impact bond. And just brief background of SIB. It's a new, relatively new social funding mechanism. So the SIB was first introduced in 2010 in UK. There is a UK program called Social Finance UK. The UK program basically sought to reduce the rate of recidivism at Peterborough Prison in Cambridgeshire. And 2 years later, 2012, New York City also initiated its first social impact bond contract, which focusing on providing large-scale prisoner rehabilitation at Ricker Island Jail. So the name was the Young Man Initiative. At the time, the private investor Goldman Sachs provided $9.6 million to ensure that detained 16 to 18 young boys, young men and women receive quality education, training, and counseling. So now, nowadays, we see the rapid expansion of social impact bonds as an innovative idea to solve social issues, given the fact that government budget is quite constrained. And currently, more than 130 social impact bond cases around the world are ongoing. And one of them is from South Korea. So today, I would like to share the first social impact bond case in South Korea. I believe that this is the first SIB case in Asia. And here, we basically target 100 adolescents with borderline intellectual mental retardation. So you know that IQ, the average is 100, right? And one standard deviation for 15. So if you are the 2 standard deviation below the average, 100, then that's mentally disabled. And this is the 15 plus 15. So if your IQ is below 70, then that's mentally disabled. And if you are between 1 standard deviation below and 2 standard deviation below, that's the borderline mental retardation. So that's between 71 to 85. So we basically target the children with borderline mental intellectual for 3 years and try to provide the remedial education. So here expected outcome is that if the children with the borderline intellectual, if their IQ improved to the normal range, then we regard this as a success. And the main investor is the People and Peace Link, PPL Foundation, where I'm representing. I'm one of the board member in this NGO. And the intermediary is a Pan Impact Korea. It's another NGO based in Seoul. And the project implementation company was Daegyo Culture Foundation. This is a very famous education company in South Korea. So they are doing home visiting, tutoring the education services. And finally, the government was Seoul Metropolitan City. So total investment was about like 1 billion Korean won. It's about like $1 million. And our outcome of our interest was IQ test score as well as adolescent behavior assessment. And so out of our like 100 like children, if they more than like 42% of the beneficiary improve their IQ to the normal range, then we expect to get maximum incentive. So that's the basic structure. So here, if the 33% of our beneficiary improve their IQ to the normal range, then we're going to receive our principal, like $1 million. And if further, the 42% of the children's like improve their IQ, then we receive our principal as well as the incentive. So our maximum incentive was about $250,000. So the reason why we are interested in these children with borderline intellectual is because these children, IQ range 71 to 84, they usually, when they become adult, 15 times more likely to be on a public charge. And if they are neglected at an early age, and they tend to deteriorate into intellectual disabled people. So we would like to support these children at an early young age, so that they can improve their IQ and the intellectual capacity. So that's our basic motivation. And here about this first, the social impact bond project in Seoul, I think the major stakeholders are as follows. There are, I think, 7 major stakeholders. First, Seoul Metropolitan Government. Second, Seoul Metropolitan Council. Third, intermediary, that's a NGO, Pan Impact Korea. Number 4, the main investor, the People and Peace Link. There are another investor, UBS Security and other NGO, but more than 90% of total investments comes from the PPL Foundation. And the project implementation body, Daegyo Culture, the foundation. Finally, independent evaluation was conducted by Department of Education from Sungkyunkwan University in Seoul. So I thought about some collaborative partnership in this project. The first, collaborative accountability by the government. So Seoul Metropolitan Government and Seoul Metropolitan Council. So first, Seoul Metropolitan Government enacted the Seoul Metropolitan Government Ordinance on Social Impact Bond Project 2014. And these ordinance went to the Seoul Metropolitan Council. And unfortunately, in September 2014, this ordinance bill was rejected. Precisely speaking, it was failed to pass. Because at the time, Seoul Metropolitan Council member did not know exactly about what social impact bond. And some members said that, oh, the previous social impact fund cases for the prisoners in US and UK, how do you apply this kind of program for prisoners to the intellectually bordered children? So it's kind of misunderstandings and a lack of understanding about this SIB. So it was rejected, but at the time, Seoul Metropolitan Government never gave up. So they just continued to work on this one and revise their ordinance and resubmit it again. So finally, it was approved by the Metropolitan Council 2015. So that was the first hurdle we experienced. Second, I would like to talk about
Professor Kim, you have 2 minutes.
the collaborative accountability by the private sector. Even after we passed this ordinance, the intermediary was not able to find out an investor because it's very risky, it's a new. So at the time, the PPL Foundation, Seoul-based NGO, specialized in microfinance and social enterprise and social investment, took all the risk and invested 1 billion Korean won. That's about $1 million. And another collaborative partnership with the project implementation company, Daegyo Culture Foundation. Daegyo is one of the leading education company, And I'm very grateful to Daegu because it's very difficult to make these children with an intellectual borderline open their heart to the teacher and tutor. So Daegu has assigned their best performing and most experienced teacher to this SIB project to guarantee the success of this first social impact bond project in Korea. So this is the current status of the first project. We finished the 3 years project. And I think the next week or in 2 weeks later, Sungkyungan University will release the final report. I'm like quite sure that this is going to be a big success. So in a week or two, we will receive the final outcome. So the one thing I'd like to discuss in this session is that this very innovative, innovative like scheme, the funding mechanism, happened based on a coincidence of a goodwill of each stakeholder. So far, we don't have any institutionalized background to make sure that this kind of social innovation happen again. So I would like to talk more about how to institutionalize this kind of social innovation in the days to come. So thank you for your attention. Thank you.